So why is it that you can't express yourself in German? In this video, I want to address the 5 reasons why I think you cannot speak German in some instances and the solutions you can apply for you to be able to speak German every time you're called upon fluently. Yes, you've been learning German for quite a long time, and then time comes when somebody asks you to say something and then you go like, na ja, also ich bin Melk und das ist alles, was ich sagen kann. It has also happened to me, weil ich kein Muttersprachler bin. I am also not a native speaker. As usual, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Reason number 1, I think German is complicated. Yes, that might sound counterintuitive, but the main thing that makes German a complicated language is simply the articles. You know that in English, you only have one article, which is they. If you want to say the cup, you simply say the cup. The mouse, the light, the house, the man, the woman, everything is there. One article. But somehow the inventor of the German language thought like, you know what? Let's make things a little bit complicated. Lass uns die Sachen ein bisschen kompliziert machen and have 3 articles. And what they come up with? Der, die, das. And you're like, okay, so how do I know what is masculine and what is feminine and what is neutral? And they're like, it is random. We are going to assign the things randomly. So somehow things are assigned articles and there is no logic whatsoever. You have to just know that this is a der, this is a D, and that's a das. That would actually be okay if there are only 3. You could know that you only have one problem. The guy who was inventing German was like, you know what? Let's kind of make it more complicated. So somehow the articles keep on changing shape and form depending on whether they are nominative, accusative, or dative until they reach 12 in number. Can you imagine? How I addressed this personally was that for everything that I was learning, I made sure I learned it with its article. So that's something I would also encourage you, that every time you learn a new word, take trouble to ask, is that a D, der, or das? Make it intentional. Of course, there could be some general rules, like for example, any words which usually end with U, NG, for example, Wohnung, die Betreuung, those usually take on the D form. That's the only logical thing. Apart from that, the rest of the things kind of just take on their own articles. Reason number 2 why you don't speak German is that you are afraid. And I get it, because when you're learning something new and you feel like you're not confident in it, it is a natural thing to feel afraid. You're going to feel afraid. So every time you open your mouth to speak, alarms go on in your head and you're like, they are judging you, somebody is going to judge you, you're going to make a mistake. And so that thing kind of just holds you back, and then you don't go out to explore speaking the language. I know fear is a natural instinct of the brain to avoid danger. So something even as small as being ashamed of making a mistake can make you hold in there. So most people who are afraid of making mistakes get this kind of logic. You know what? I'm going to study and make sure I'm perfect, and then when I'm perfect, I'll get the confidence and then I'll speak. But that's not how actually it works. So the right logic would be, the right order of things would be that with the little that you have, even if it is wie geht's dir, guten Morgen, ich heiße Melk, you know, those very simple statements that you make, once you get them, apply the little that you have, step out into the unknown and speak. Then you'll be corrected. As you're corrected, now you go back to speak, but with more surety. That goes on to build a confidence. And as you spiral on building the confidence, you get better and better. And finally, you're able to speak the language. Let me just put it like this, that confidence comes the more you speak. The 3rd reason why you don't speak German is that you don't hear enough German. Do you know that right now you are only able to speak because at some point you had somebody speak? No, I'm not speaking about English, because most of us, it's an official language. You went to class and learned the rules. I'm speaking about your mother tongue. As you grew up, your mother was speaking it, your father was speaking it, your siblings were speaking the language, the brain picked it up and you end up speaking. The same applies to German. Hearing is that thing that teaches you actually how the language is used in its truest sense. Of course, books might help to explain to you different rules, how to apply them and how to put commas where to put them and all these kinds of things. But really, true learning is gotten from hearing people speak. That's basically how babies learn the language. You have to have people speaking German around you, or you have to tune in and hear people speak the language. You get to kind of have the nuances of the language, which intonations, how the rhythm of the language flows. It's almost like how the music plays, you know? Listening to people speak, especially Muttersprachler or native speakers, is such an important skill that I can't emphasize enough. Doesn't matter the level of the language you are at, even if it is A1 or C1. Listen to the language more often. But even if you're not yet here, you can listen to podcasts, you can watch YouTube videos. Listening really makes a big difference in learning the language and ultimately being able to speak it. The fourth reason why you can't speak the language is the cultural context. You don't understand the cultural context. Now, this is something, of course, which I totally understand, that for as long as you are not in German, you will not be able to understand something. So that's something I really appreciate. You know, communication is just more than words and putting sentences together. It is passing on of a message deeper than words. Sometimes messages are hidden within the cultural context of a thing. So the solution to this would be that you actually find yourself plugged into a German community somewhere. If you can connect to a German community and you're in German here, that'll be very wonderful. Very many of our wonderful people who have come to German, they kind of stay in their own bubbles and in their own islands and don't reach out. You find somebody has been in German for a very long time and they don't even have a single German friend. And for me, I think that's detrimental. So if you're very serious about learning a language, step out of the comfort zone, step out of the safety net of your countrymen, of the people you know. If you've come from Uganda and then you just have a clique of only Ugandans, or you're from Kenya, you just hang out with only Kenyans, or you're from India, you only hang out with Indians. The best thing for you is get some German friends. Even if it is one person, they will help put some things in context for you, you know? So you then are able to speak the language more freely because you understand the context from which they're coming at you. Sometimes it might not even be a German per se, but somebody who has been in German long enough to understand the cultural aspect of what saying what actually means. For me, I go to church and it's a purely German speaking church. It helps to just put things in context for you. There cannot be an excuse of not being in German. Let me tell you, before I came to German, I had read so much about German because generally I like history, even if I'm a medical doctor. So I had watched documentaries. There are some things which I already understood even before I came here. If you're serious about the journey of coming to German and understanding the context of the culture and everything, read books, read articles about the country, watch some documentaries online, watch some movies. These are some of the kind of ways you can immerse yourself in a culture of people, or kind of understand the culture and how people think even before you travel to a culture. So that will help you not only speak but communicate. Now, before I give us our last point, I kindly ask you to hit that like button and then consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Please leave a comment in case you're enjoying something down there, and yeah, I'll be sure to read all those comments and reply all of them. So let's go on to our final point. Now, the last reason as to why I think you don't speak German is that you don't review what you learned. That is a mistake so many people make when they have just started learning German, or even if they've gone on to learn German for a long time. Yes, you ask something, they tell you, what is this called? And then you get it, or you even write it down. You keep on collecting your new words that you've learned, but you never go back to revise those words. That's a big hindrance, because then you are actually wasting your time and not making the progress you should be making. Use the technique called active recall. Kindly just engage with active recall. How do I do that? Is for me, I use Anki. And in case you're asking, how do I actually use Anki? I've got you covered. Kindly just check out this video. I cover everything from how you download Anki to how you set it up to how you make your first card and how you revise it. And consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye and peace.